Excuse me. We've talked about this, the teachers having so much stuff on, not having time to do. Don't you think a lot of the thing, if they would quit pulling this SOL thing and have time to teach, would help some? It looks like to me they're teaching SOL in school instead of teaching what you should be learning. They're teaching you to pass a test. And whether you learn anything or not doesn't matter if you pass the test.
My legislative aide is a teacher, and so when we go back and forth to Richmond, I've heard that argument about 300 times. And, so, and you know, there's a lot to be said about that. You know, now there's a federal, you know, no child left behind, and so a lot of teachers will. Roscoe's wife's a teacher, so you know, a lot of people, you know, believe that we're teaching to the test. Now the other side will tell you that in economic development, that when economic developers, when companies want to look at a location, they want to know what is the education level in that area, you know, compare Henry County to another area, and those SOLs are a way to measure the you know, how the level of education in the locality. So there's two sides to it always.
Well, what do they really do? What they tell you they do, another thing.
But part of the problem, and I feel very strongly about this, there is no test that I or you or anyone else can give a student once a year and tell how good, what kind of real progress that students make. We somehow know that we as a society, let's put it this way, there are too many people who think that you can test a child and determine how well that child is progressing. And when I was a student in school, we got tested quite frequently. And our teachers made the determination whether or not we were progressing at the rate that we ought to. There has been an unwillingness of the public to accept the evaluations being made by the teachers. I hope that sometime, if you have not done it, you will talk to the teachers and hear about the problems that are happening. For instance, the tests were being administered at a local high school when the line got severed. Under the rules, the students could not take the test. They could not leave the room. They had to sit there in the classroom until the test came back online. They could not even leave to go to the bathroom. But stuff like, one of the things that, for instance, to step aside from that for just a minute, is that for many years the college board's examination was used as a way to try to determine what level a student was at the time that they were trying to get in college. And almost every school that used that said it's just a general idea. Students who score well may do poorly. Students who do poorly on the exam may end up to be great college students. I think that I wish somehow or another that we could help, that we could get away from this idea that there's one test that can be given to a child once a year to determine what progress that child's been making. I mean, if you think about it for just a minute, it doesn't make any sense. The real way to do it is to test a child at the beginning of the academic year and at the end of the academic year and see what kind of progress the child has done. But that's not really the way the SOL testing has worked out. I've got some real reservations as to whether or not the process is worth what we're paying for. I have a real reservation as to how fair it is to our teachers and how fair it is to our students. It puts a heck of a lot of stress upon kids, and the stress is not whether they're learning or not, but it's how they do on their test, how the test is going to work out. And I'll tell you, having been there while this progress, when this has been started and the way it's been implemented, I've got some absolute reservations about it. The problem, though, is with changing it, is that The minute you start talking about changing, somebody says what you're doing is lowering academic standards. I don't think that's what you're doing, but that's what those people who are critical of it say when you start talking about changing it and getting away from it. We kid ourselves, in my opinion, if we think there's something that the State Board of Education or the state superintendent in schools in Richmond can do about the real educational process in Henry County. Henry County is going to have the kind of education that the people in Henry County want. And if it's good or it's bad, it's going to be because that's what the people in Henry County want. And you start multiplying that across Collinsville, Danville, Pennsylvania County, the city of Martinsville. It is, we like to tell ourselves that there are simplistic solutions to how we measure progress, and they just are not as simple as giving a child a test once a year.
Thank you for that question and your thoughtful answers. Greg, you had a question.
Yeah. All right. In 2009, AARP pushed a bill that would require financial institutions to report financial elder abuse. Credit unions will report financial elder abuse if they recognize it. But they thought the bill went too far because it would penalize employees who in good faith could not recognize